it's possible to sign other alternatives as well, just not depend on one, because I think it's really unrealistic. And the ones I was suggesting would be signing to Jackson Square to Route 18, signing Cushing Street to Derby, which would come out to whatever that exit is, signing Queen Anne's Corner to the exit 14. And I wondered if you were going down as far as Route 123 to get people off further down Route 3A, because people come from way down Route 3A to come in and over Quincy and so forth. I've seen a sign in Cohasset, but that's the only one I've seen. And that would divert people onto 128, which is a good interceptor. But it just seems to me that there should be more driving alternatives proposed for people who may not be familiar with them. The second, and then, so that's driving. The second thing is, have you talked to Plymouth and Brockton about adding bus capacity at the Rockland parking lot? Because that would be a good intercept.
Of course, Plymouth and Brockton.
The private line.
Yeah. The P&B, the private bus line. Yeah.
Right, but they could certainly be partners in this project as well if they, and
We can look into it, certainly.
yeah, I think that would be terrific. And then in terms of the ferry, we were just down there today looking at some ferry issues, and apparently there are some that have capacity constraints in the early morning, which is the rush hour. Will you be adding capacity to the ferry runs? And is there any way for letting people know about what's going on there?
We have built into capacity, and it's an ongoing conversation.
And what does that mean?
It's an ongoing conversation as to whether or not we can supplement the carriers.
Okay.
But in terms of letting people know, we are, one of the ongoing outreach pieces, we'll be placing some materials at the ferry terminals and the commuter stations.
But the question is whether they're pre-down boats or whether they're full, or whether they should be larger vessels or more frequency. The other thing is that Nantasket also has I was wondering about how you're phasing all these construction projects that people have already mentioned, the issue with phasing with the Bergen Parkway overpass. Sounds like you're going to wait to do that after this is completed.
That seems to be the direction we're going.
Okay, and have you done an analysis about any other construction projects that are on the way on any of the alternative routes? Well, and one of them is potentially down in Hingham, where there's a new lane adjustment going on between Hingham and Hall.
Not that project in particular, but we have spoken with the three mayors, Braintree, Quincy, and William, about ongoing projects within the towns as well as public works projects, and we're coordinating with the towns. Not being able to really
Well, a lot of the traffic comes up through Cohasset, Situate, as you know, and Norwell and Marshfield. So it just seems to be important to grab those guys and get them diverted before they get up into the area. And then also to make sure that there are other things. And finally, in terms of Nantasket, as you mentioned, you think you might have to stand or something in Nantasket. Is there any possibility that the ferry to Nantasket could be could be installed in the summer as a temporary option?
First of all, I was wondering if the traffic engineer could do, how much less traffic is there in the summer months? Is it about 20% or more?
It's actually about the same.
It is? Oh.
It is about the same. I would say 97%, but 97% is still about the same to me.
The second part was, I'm sure you thought of this way before we have, in the period where you're going to be using both bridges there, and the bridge has to go up. Does that seem complicated?
They're independent operators. I mean, as far as lifting the bridge,
Yeah.
there are in the existing temporary bridge, there are a team of operators there, as well as in the new structure.
Not the same guy running back and forth.
No, it isn't. But it's a valid question.
Actually, can you speak to that a little bit, like about what kind of bridge closings that we can expect on top of this, like during this period, like?
Single, really, you know, if there's anything for maintenance or anything like that, we'll take care of that, you know, a couple of weeks before we get into the, you know,
But the Mariners do have the right of way.
yeah, there'll still be the typical openings, so 6 sailboats, whatever else is coming.
At one point a long time ago, I remember there was talk of restrictions about certain times of that, and then I remember it never happened. Because I commuted across that bridge for a long
There
time.
are restrictions during the morning and afternoon rush, unless it's
over
any
10,000, if it's over 10,000 metric tons, the ship has the right of way that the bridge must be raised. So any of the fuel ships exceed the 10,000, I believe it's something to that effect. Anything over that certain threshold, i.e. a fuel ship, has the right of way and the bridge must be raised. But for sailboats and something that would need an opening, they would have to wait until outside of the AM and PM peak traffic periods for an opening.
Is
So
there,
that's
there's no
oftentimes,
plan to restrict that at all during this time, or?
that's the way it's.
Or even just advise voters, I don't know.
Maritime law.
Arguing about those guys,
Well, I'm just saying, like, is there no cooperation with that in order to sort of,
So some of the restrictions you may be thinking of is we did have a restriction in the channel during the float-in of the lift span, which you saw. But what Jack's telling you, it's basically black letter maritime law. The sloops, the recreational sloops that live at the former base, the yacht club, they are restricted. They can't come down and disturb the peak hours. But if it's one of these, home heating oil ships, it's, one of these Panamax tankers, they're dependent on the tide. So the maritime law is that restricts to the 1630s is when they show up, they have the right of way.
U.S. Coast Guard simply said has the jurisdiction. It overrides it. I'd just like to point out, AJ Alves, who's the chief of staff, Senator John Keenan, has joined us as well. So thank you, AJ, for coming. Thank you.
How are we going to do the right connector, because that's really off Commercial Street or even off Quincy Avenue, right down the life cycle is very short, but the traffic backs up, and you've got that new project, the new apartment complex going in, which I don't know is going to be interfering at all.
Yeah, so the FL right connector is, it's right down in, so that's right here, so you can see this is actually, there's a heavy police presence right around where the FL right connector connects. And then if you look back here, there are also intersection improvements to either end of it. So that is something that we've looked at.
It's the right connector right now, and because of the short life cycle going toward Route 3, backs up right away, and then that almost blocks the parking lot.
So if timing needs to be adjusted, we can do that.
That is
Police need to
one of
notify. Go ahead.
that is one of the signals that gets adjusted, as well as the, I think that's two right turn lanes.
Yeah, the connector will have 2 right turn lanes and the left turn will be restricted. So that way, we're clearing out the traffic and not having to hold the light for too long.
You'll see those changes coming.
Right over here, and then Mr. McDonald has a question. Go ahead.
I have a long list, so I'll just ask some now, and then I'll circle back at the end. First of all, I want to thank you, Skanska?
White Skanska.
White Skanska, for just being, doing a great job. The neighbors, at least on my side of the bridge, have had absolutely no problems with noise. That's really bad. Anytime he interacted with any of your people, either on the phone or on the street, I think I met the foreman, they've been extraordinarily responsive and very professional. So thank you very much. And also thank you, Nathaniel. I extend that to him too. I don't know if I'm going to say the same thing when the demolition starts. So my question is, out of all of this whole project, what is the noisiest portion of it? Will it get worse during the demolition, or are we past it all now?
There will be, certainly there are noise restrictions, and we have to work within the construction noise plan. So that is something that's monitored during those operations, as well as pile driving. So the project has already experienced some of that, and so you can use that as a bit of a gauge for those dolphins and fenders, those circular structures I showed in the presentation, as well as all of the piles. That involves, pile driving equipment. It's a banging. That was done with success, and as you mentioned, hopefully limited disruption. Again, working within the noise plan and the limits of the project, that's our responsibility. The demolition, seen very little demolition to date. Again, it all has to work within the construction noise plan, and that's what
Do you think, in your professional opinion, it'll be noisier when they do the demolition?
during the daytime hours, naturally when they can make noise. I mean, there are certain operations that are better suited when everyone's awake. And when everyone's, you know, or most people are sleeping, then it really drops down.
Right. And I have a question. You said you'll be monitoring the traffic. How will you be monitoring that? Is that all computerized? Do you have cameras that are?
Multiple modes. Feedback from the police details of what the officer on the ground is seeing, as well as the officer in charge. Each of these groups, whether it's Braintree, Quincy, or Weymouth, has an officer in charge of their respective details. They'll be reporting back as we meet each day. They'll give us feedback until we can get this optimized and make any adjustments going forward.
Okay. Do you know anything about, maybe this is from Mass DOT, the 220 bus, they spent $7 million with this intermodal terminal in Hingham. And the bus is only intermodal one way from Hingham to the ferry. Do you know if they changed the schedule and they're, at least in March, when it left Quincy, it did not stop at the ferry terminal. It stopped in the street and you have to walk there. Do you know if that's been adjusted or changed?
I'm not familiar either with I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the system.
Yeah.
We're not sure.
So, and just one more question regarding communication. Somebody else brought up these points of maybe spreading out the communication a little further. I can say for sure that during the summer, the traffic on 3A on a Saturday and Sunday is a lot worse than it is any other time. Most of that is people coming from, you know, maybe Randolph or Brockton, going to Nantasket Beach. Are you planning on communicating to those beach people somehow that maybe they should avoid that?
We can certainly spread that, and we can, you know, it's easy enough to, you know, you said Randolph, and what's the other town?
Well, I know, I'm just guessing.
Okay.
I'm just saying, but I just know.
We can certainly, you know, if you think it's helpful, if it's Randolph, we can arrange another flyer drop, that's easy peasy.
Because there's no, as far as I can see, there's no police detail on Bridge Street, so you're not gonna know how backed up that is on Bridge Street
No,
itself.
those are details right
In
there.
Weymouth, though.
That is, just to make that point, within the project limits, there are, we have our regular day-to-day construction details. So this is special, you know, again, just to address the traffic issue. Within the project limits itself, we have typically one or two details on any given day. So this doesn't reflect, you know, that type of stuff, but there are additional officers in the area of the project.
Okay. And I'll ask other questions later. Thank you.
Sure. We also have video cameras on the bridge to monitor, you know, traffic situation as well, up and down the corridor towards the end.
Thank you. Just, I have one more question about that traffic. About, like, does it, like the types of traffic, is that going to be monitored as far as like a lot of the small streets through Weymouth, I know, and locally, like it's hard for big heavy trucks, and a lot of those roads have just been, you know, redone, like in most streets in the last few years. So I guess that's my other concern with a lot of the heavier trucks, you know, that are,
Right.
like, because I know the bus comes through, you know, but there aren't, other than the 3rd of July, we really don't get a ton of heavy traffic on West Street because it is diffused all through. So, I guess, and it is a very residential area, so that's a really big concern.
Understood. The mayors have brought that up as well. In such, I think there are a few signs out there as far as restricting truck traffic. Right. These are construction signs that will restrict truck traffic through these neighborhoods where large trucks don't go.
Okay, hold on, you.
Good.
You all set? Yep.
I'm just wondering, where, on which side of the bridge will it actually go down to one lane? Like, will it be at the rotary going from Quincy over, or will it be prior to the rotary?
Just west of the rotary and then kind of in the area of Nanaquan Street from the other side to
Then just one other question, I know you guys probably study all these things. Do you have an estimate of saying how much of a time it's gonna take, say, from, because so much traffic will be coming down Southern Artery in the evening just to go over the bridge or to go towards 53? Do you have an idea of how much longer it'll be, say, from Quincy Police Station, either to get to the bridge or, you know, maybe you guys close the traffic study, so that sort of thing?
I cannot exactly tell you how much longer, but I can tell you that with the analysis that we did, if everybody decides to stay on the bridge and not go anywhere, it is definitely going to be worse. Maybe at, I would say twice the amount of time that we take, but then chances are everybody's going to use alternate routes and disperse. So it's not going to be as bad. And frankly speaking, in the morning, it's a span of about 3 hours, or 2.5 hours to be more precise, where you have that full volume. Usually we say one lane takes about 1,300 vehicles, and without any cover. So there are about 2.5 to 3 hours time period in the morning where you have a little more than 1,300, about 14 to 1,500 vehicles in the morning. And in the afternoon, that time period is extends to about 3.5 to 4 hours. So we're talking about a few couple of hundred vehicles. If they divert, then it should work. And I'm assuming it depends on how people change their driving behavior patterns or their time. You know, everybody knows, oh, it's a single lane, so that we start 15 minutes ahead of time. So hopefully it will disperse out without much of a problem. But if everybody just decides to stick to their time and everybody decides to take the bridge, it's probably going to be about twice the time.
Yeah, it just seems like everybody's still gonna have to take that Southern Artery route, whether they're going to the
Exactly.
bridge or going
All
to
the
53.
retail still take that on Southern Artery.
So you're still gonna have a backup going down to the one lane before the bridge, plus the extra people going through the, to Commercial Street to go towards the landing. So it just seems like that whole area is gonna be even more.
And that's why I'm suggesting get people off further down Route 3A and onto Route 3 and avoid this altogether.
So, and that's the reason we're not specifically signing any route as a detour route at all. Because then we would be doing, we're not going to do justice to anybody, because then everybody will decide to move there. But then the best way is to use apps and then take alternate routes and look at your travel time. And depending on where your final destination is, to pick the route that's best for you. And that way, if enough people disperse and we still have a lane open, you know, one lane open, so it should still work.
One other thing, I'm sorry. Have you considered, and I know you guys probably looked at every other route, but Southern Artery going towards Boston in the evening, somehow opening one of those lanes south? I know it might be a logistical, you know. So
Having a Sonic flow lane on Southern
Stadium,
Artery?
they tend to open up a lane on the opposite side during heavy traffic hours.
So the idea is that, yeah,
You want to
the idea is, I think she's asking if we,
Yeah,
if
and
we would,
outside the project.
yeah, outside the project, put some work to have it done.
Just
that's
to
something-
alleviate the traffic going.
I think it's something, to consider. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just figuring in the evening, say go into the morning, not quite because of the lane, do you know what I mean? Like you can switch it. Just about.
Excuse me, are you talking about making Southern Avenue, Washington Street, 3 lanes one way at night?
Just, yeah, just a thought.
I live in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
If we get out of here.
Oh, no, I mean, I live one street over here, so I completely understand. I'm just trying to think of a way to alleviate
It's crazy.
everybody going in.
I think part of the issue with that would be, and I'll defer to my engineering friends over here, but I think if you, so say you've got constriction here in the evening, right? And you've got a lot of volume trying to go this way, and you open up 3 lanes coming down through here, you're only going to deliver the slug that much faster. So it doesn't really give you the help you want. It might actually make it worse.
I'm thinking of 2 lanes for to go walking towards the hub.
Yeah,
2 lanes.
still
towards-
think it's like,
But I mean, I know you guys have probably looked at all the routes. I'm just,
no, good thought, but probably might make it harder. Another question?
Yeah, I have a couple, this is with respect to pedestrian and cycling on the bridge. What are the accommodations?
Right, so on the, so during the one lane? Well, I guess in the final setup, you have 2 sidewalks.
Right, but-
10-foot sidewalks, and then 2 mid-shoulders, and then 2 5-foot wide shoulders.
But during the construction,
Construction will always be on the north side.
There's still one sidewalk on the north side.
okay, that's the one that's there now?
Correct.
The roller coaster one?
Yeah, it was for the bridge.
Okay, so that's, and this maybe is for Mass DOT, what plans are in place to encourage alternate forms of transportation such as biking and walking? Are there any, I mean, this is a teachable moment, we're all talking about getting out of our cars and, you know, is Mass DOT, are they taking advantage of this?
I think the approach thus far has been, you know, we're trying to, you know, deal with some of the commuter traffic that's coming through here. So we had immediate availability this morning. One of the things that was mentioned, you know, was avail yourself of the commuter rail, avail yourself of the ferry boat. You know, it is, you know, the cycling connection is there. I think it'd be a lot more comfortable on the new bridge, given how some people feel about, you know, cycling on movable bridges to begin with. So I think we've been trying to push the transit options on this one, not so much walking and cycling, because obviously if I'm coming from Cohasset and headed to Boston, walking might be a choice.
Okay. And who pays for the police details? Is that does the town pay for that, or?
No, that is covered in the project.
Okay, so all those little ones like in Weymouth and
Right.
the project.
Right, that's basically through the project.
So I'm reading from the press, I think it was a press release that went out. It said drivers should be mindful of potential traffic impacts and should devote their full attention to driving through this active construction zone as Mass DOT works to replace the bridge. What plans are in place to ensure that drivers devote their full attention to driving through this active construction zone, specifically on Bridge Street? Because people are going to be sitting there and they're going to be texting. You know that's going to happen. And most people don't even know that they're not supposed to be texting or looking or reading email when they're sitting in traffic. Most people don't know that that's against the law, but it is. And we have a lot of families, and you know it's very dense here, and there's going to be issues. So
Certainly, we work with the police details to enforce the law as far as texting and driving, and the orders are, you know, called out on that. Really working with the police to address that.
yeah. I'm not calling you out on it. I think
Oh,
it's
right.
Mass DOT's responsibility. And
But that's what they
police.
would do. But that's what they would do too. It's not like Jack or any of his people, as a resident engineer on the job, can go over and bang on someone's window and say, "Put your phone down." That's what it's got to do.
Right. And are you going to give us some cops on Bridge Street to do that?
Yeah, Jack was talking about there's details with the bridge.
General construction details in the area of work.
You know,
Addition
cops already
to,
listed on the
right.
bridge.
But are they going to be at C Street when it backs up at C Street? Is there going to be police, you know, patrol on a bicycle, making sure these people aren't endangering the people that live there?
No.
Okay.
Sir, right here.
Question in the back.
Like when I get up in the morning, I have the TV on for breakfast, you know, they have the traffic report and all different things. You've probably given some consideration to, as it gets close, like say within a week or two, have the people that talk about the traffic on the different stations, maybe kind of like talk it up or something to make people a little bit more aware, hey, this is going to be a problem, leave early, different routes or whatever.
And MassDOT's press office has already been in contact. That's why we had the press availability this morning, trying to, you know, pique their interest and get them interested. And as we get closer to this, I'm sure they will continue to push things out, not only to the TV, but the radio and print media. So that will be done.
Yeah, one more question. You responded to the question about the detail being paid for on the construction contract. Do you also have funds in the construction contract for transit alternatives? And what I'm thinking about is wondering whether you could have like a discount during the construction period on parking at commuter rail and ferry or other type of something to attract people to the transit alternatives. And would that be covered by the contract as well? Or do you have any transit projects that you're supporting financially during this alternative scenario.
That's my knowledge. Is there any plan in place?
Isn't that your responsibility, or is it the MBTA? Are you working with the MBTA on that?
That would be, I think that would probably be the MBTA. This is not, it would be certain part of the Mass DOT highway.
It's not part of this contract, that there is coordination with the T, and I think that can be based on, you know, MBA representation, about, here, coordinated to the T goals.
Okay, and that's something that you would do, or?
Yes. Other questions? Yes, sir, go ahead.
Down at the landing where FL right takes the left off of Quincy Ave, and then you have that other light at the Water Lincoln landing, maybe 100 yards or so ahead of that. Is there any plan that can you coordinate those two lights to work together? Because when you're coming up to that FL, you're coming up to the first light, you stop there. 5 seconds later, it's maybe more than that, but 5-10 seconds later, that other light at the landing turns red. You're getting stuck at this light, you get through that light, you're getting stuck at this light here.
Yeah, those are the signal improvements that we're talking about, that kind of stuff, those kind of things to be so giving you free time and then that offset so that once you hit a red, hopefully you'll get a couple more reds before you have to stop, a couple more beats before you stop again. So those are the kind of improvements that will be put in place a couple of days before.
That is the objective.
That is the objective of doing the signal timing and improvement.
And one more question about the MBTA. With all this extra traffic and everything, is there a way to reach out to your T contact, whoever that may be, to maybe add some buses that would run from Quincy Center just to the rotary at the bridge and then back to Quincy so you'd have more buses run?
It's something we can discuss if it becomes necessary.
Or is there someone we can reach out to at the T to suggest that?
We have a contact, so if the situation warrants that that's something we need to look at, we have a lady who helped us write this presentation. She's worked with us on getting ready for tonight, and if we need to reach out to her, we have a live wire. If it looks like that might be something. Okay. Nothing further? If you want to see a rerun with some slightly different questions, we'll be doing it in Weymouth at the Abigail Adams School on Thursday next week. Thank you and good night.
Thank you very much.
So